Welcome into Three Questions with Ivan Maisel, where Ivan brings his insight on all things college football to us here on the On3 YouTube channel on a weekly basis. Ivan, there was an earthquake in Baton Rouge, and I don't believe it was of natural causes. It was because LSU knocked off Alabama in overtime. A lot of people in Baton Rouge now setting their sights on the postseason. Is there a path to the college football playoff for the Tigers?
JD, the beauty of there being 4 weeks left is that you can create any kind of scenario you want. LSU's issues are pretty obvious. They got Georgia ahead of them, but our LSU getting to the playoff, we're supposing they beat Georgia in Atlanta on December 3rd. So that box is checked. The bigger issue, of course, is Tennessee at number 5, which won at LSU by 4 touchdowns. So it's a trade, or you're weighing whether the SEC championship is worth more to the committee than the head-to-head competition. I have a hard time believing that. It could happen, or the other scenario is that Georgia, Tennessee, and LSU all get into the playoff, 3 SEC teams, in which case we'll have a 12-team playoff yesterday because nobody else will stand for that. But yeah, there's a path, but it's narrow.
Yeah, if there's 3 SEC teams in the college football playoff, 3 of the 4, have a funny feeling that 12-team playoff would get expedited, maybe arriving a little bit sooner than a lot of people would expect or have scheduled. But it's funny because on one hand, 2-loss team never made the college football playoff, and on the other, you say an SEC champ's never been out of the college football playoff. So I think for LSU, style points will play a factor. And if they can win somehow convincingly in Atlanta against who we're assuming would be the Georgia Bulldogs, I just wonder what that conversation would be like. Because now we're at the point in time where a committee decides it. So we got people in a room having a conversation. What's that conversation sound like? And how do you leave an LSU team out if they beat a team like Georgia by, I don't know, let's just get crazy here and say by 14 points. There's a path. I'm with you. I think it's a path, but I think it's also a narrow path. Even so, it's year 1 under Brian Kelly. We're not supposed to be talking about the college football playoff in year 1 of a new head coach at a program. What are your impressions of LSU so far under Brian Kelly?
Well, he's done a terrific job. I mean, especially if you think what this team looked like Labor Day weekend when they lost to Florida State. They didn't find a rhythm until the fourth quarter, nearly came back and stole the game. But to see where they've come since then, and the development of Jayden Daniels, and the belief that they're all beginning to pull in the same direction. Keyshawn Butte kind of went off on his own for a while there. Now you could clearly see Saturday night, this is a team. This is a team all moving in the same direction. That's big. And as we're talking and I think about that Florida State loss, that was a long time ago. So maybe that 2-loss SEC championship team would come in ahead of Tennessee. I don't know. It'll depend also on everybody else and what they're doing, but that's the beauty of the playoff discussion.
Well, I appreciated so much the fact that you've got the big dog in Alabama at your house on the ropes. You got a chance to end it by going for 2, and Brian Kelly has the guts and belief in his program to pull the trigger. I mean, a lot of other coaches would have said, let's just keep playing this thing out. Let's just hang around, play ping pong, wait for them to make a mistake. And so for Brian Kelly to, 1, believe in his program, and then 2, his reaction on the field post-game where he got emotional in the interview with Holly Rowe, where you could tell he felt for his program and he understands where they came from to get to that moment. I mean, to have the extra point blocked in game 1 against Florida State, to have a lot of players a season ago kind of unofficially waving that white flag and not really being bought into the program, and from that moment to then knocking off Alabama, you could tell it's a special direction that program's heading. So we're excited to keep track of it here, but they got their work cut out for them. Rivalry game, battle for the Golden Boot this coming Saturday in Fayetteville against Arkansas. Got to go on the road, 12 o'clock kick. How much of a problem do you think Arkansas poses for LSU?
Well, I mean, it's a road game. It's an 11 a.m. game. That Tennessee game was at 11 a.m. LSU didn't really show up for that. And it's a rivalry game. And you're depending on the maturity of LSU to set that Alabama game aside and focus this week. So yeah, it's a hurdle, and Arkansas, having lost to Liberty, is going to be out to prove something, or Arkansas is not very good. You can read that either way, but I think if LSU, you got to assume they're going to be angry. So LSU has got to be ready this week. You're absolutely right.
It'll be fascinating. I think we learn a lot about the maturation of that culture under Brian Kelly, because we've never really wondered, hey, does LSU have the talent to beat some of these other teams in the SEC and to be a top-tier program? But now, after a huge win, can you avoid that letdown? Can you have the professional mindset of, okay, new week, let's go 1-0. So I think we'll learn a lot. I really do, but I'm excited to watch that game this coming Saturday. Ivan, speaking of this coming Saturday, what are your plans? You hitting the Sony Stadium? You hitting the road? What's the viewing plans?
I will be at TCU at Texas, see the number 4 Horned Frogs. And, again, speaking of LSU's chances, TCU's got games at Texas, at Baylor the next 2 weeks, and that'll tell us a lot about the Horned Frogs.
Should learn a lot about TCU, should learn a lot about that college football playoff picture after Saturday night in Austin. But with you going to that game, I think that just pretty much cements that it'll come down to the last 30 seconds, probably a one-score game. So I don't know what the spread is. Actually, I do. I think it's about 7 favoring Texas. I think the money should be going +7 TCU based on you being at the game. So I'll leave it at that. But Ivan, thanks again for coming on. Enjoy the game. Safe travels. And we'll do this again real soon. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.